So we're going to get into one of the zodiacs on the side, and we're going to lower our boat. And yes, what you can do is you can put his entire boat full of people, which I think it seats 7 or 8 people. And a lot of these are actually fire from vehicle as well. So you can actually shoot from the seats in the boat. And now you're in the water. Now you're like, well, that's kind of cool. How do you get back? Because you cannot get back on the side. Good point. I'll show you an amazing feature again of why I think this boat is so cool. Alright, howdy gents, and welcome back to ArmA 3. Today we're going to be starting a new series on my channel, which is kind of like a mod review, but it's going to be a bit more different and streamlined than the ones that I did in the past, because I was super excited when, like, for example, Star Wars and Unsung came out, and I would go over every single uniform, every single weapon, grenade, vehicle, and it would just get tiring for you, for me, and there's no point in making 3-hour videos because who cares, right? You're here because you want to see why this mod is so cool, or why it's better or worse than another mod. Now, first of all, when I say that, obviously all these mods are made by people in their free time, in their spare time, and I cannot stress this enough that it's awesome that people, and especially in the ArmA 3 community, people make these free modifications for ArmA 3, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. If it wasn't for all these mods for ArmA 3, I would have not been playing this game a few years after its launch, for sure. I'm not a big fan of ArmA 3 Vanilla. Nothing necessarily bad about it. I'm not a big fan of the futuristic setting. I like, you know, modern contemporary stuff like modern US equipment, modern European equipment, Russian equipment, even World War II and Vietnam. I even like Star Wars, but I didn't really get into the 2035 setting for ArmA 3. So first of all, everything in this video should be kept in the back of your mind when I say something, that I do say this with the utmost respect for the people who make these mods available to everyone for free. And for that, a massive thank you. In this first video, we're going to be looking at the FFAA mod, which, and I didn't know this because I'm not really great at all at Spanish, is it stands for Fuerzas Armadas mod. And I'm probably totally mispronouncing that. That's okay. But you're wondering, that's only 2 words. That's one F, one A. Where's the other F and the A? Apparently, in Spanish, when an acronym is an acronym for a word that it's plural, for example, Estados Unidos, probably butchered that word too, it isn't EU, it is EEUU. So as well as for the FFAA mod, it is Fuerzas Armadas, but because it's plural, it isn't just FA, it's FFAA. So there you go, even learned some Spanish today. The FFAA mod can trace back its origin way back to 2003's Operation Flashpoint, and the dev team has been working on mods about the Spanish army basically from every game from the original Flashpoint to ArmA 3. And I'm sure it'll make one for ArmA 4 or whatever game comes after ArmA 3, but they have 15 years of modding experience, and I think it really starts to show when you look at the vehicles. Like I said, with the utmost respect and gratitude for the free content that all these mods deliver, I would like to handpick some of the, in my opinion, more impressive items that these mods have to offer. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through the entire mod list and look at every single item in detail. I think that's something I used to do, and it's really not something I would like to do in the future. Instead, we're going to make this a short and bite-sized little video where I pick what I think is the most awesome parts of the mod. Now, before we begin, last thing, if you want to see me review a specific mod, either write a comment in the comment section or upvote someone else's comment in the comment section. And then after a certain while, I'll look back at this video and determine either the most upvoted comment or the mod that has been mentioned the most in comments, and I will review that mod next. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give 2 scores to every mod that I review, again with the utmost respect for the modders in mind. The scores will be 1 for the equipment, so for everything from weapons to helmets to face wear, and one for all the vehicles, so for land, sea, air, etc. Now, I'm going to be really brutally honest here. If it comes to the gear from the FFAA mod, I have to say that there's not really much to write home about. Personally, I think there is better mods when it comes to these weapons. They're definitely not horrible, but I think most of these are ArmA 2 ports, and I think that there is guns in other mods that look better that you could use instead of these Spanish FFAA mods. Let's say, for example, you want to play as a Spanish, but you really want to use a G36. I know RHS or even the German Bundeswehr mod has G36s that look very, very good. Again, this isn't necessarily to just hate on the developers, but I feel like if I'm doing a mod review, I want to be honest, but not just ragging on people. So my opinion here is that the equipment on the weapons part anyway, is probably a 6 out of 10. And on the uniforms, which I have to say, the uniforms and the vests, which the original content, there is some original content parts to the uniforms, bring that 6 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10, because I gotta say, I really love the helmets. The Mart 04 helmets do look really good. There's a couple of different variations here. And they also have this very, in my opinion, sweet-looking travel backpack. The overall review score for the equipment, I will make a 7 out of 10. But let's go to the vehicle department, land, sea, air, etc. And that's where I think the FFAA mod really shines, and it's definitely an awesome mod. Now, I'm not going to go over every single one. I will just show you my personal favorites from the FFAA mod. This is the Naval, which is an 8-seat Land Rover, basically. And the really cool thing about this little Jeep is that you can actually remove the rear structure, remove the canvas roof, I suppose, and also for some reason remove the sunshades, because who needs to have no sunshades when you can have the sunroof for some reason, but whatever. It seats 8, and this is a little quick Land Rover, which I think does look really, really sweet. It's like definitely used. You can see there's lots of scratches on there and dirt, but it does look really, really good. And it also has 2 fire from vehicle slots in the back. Another cool vehicle in this, and I honestly gotta say, all the wheeled vehicles, that's a hard thing to say for me, the wheeled vehicles in the FFAA mod are absolutely, all of them are basically magnifique. That's not Spanish, but whatever. Magnifico, that's that Italian? I don't know, maybe. The Linz LMV with multiple variants, from a grenade launcher to a medical to an MG3 variant. I want to take a look at the medical variant because it's probably the coolest one. It's got these wires that, or these rods that guide low-hanging wires way over the vehicle. And it's got the addition that, actually I have to go into the driver's seat really quick. Let's get out. And there we go. Now we can actually also put people, if I go into the garage again, we can also put people in the back to watch over the wounded or to just be transported. You can put 2 wounded in the back and it just looks absolutely amazing. One of my favorite looking vehicles in this mod. There's also multiple trucks, the M250 series of trucks with multiple variants from ammo, fuel recovery. The recovery truck can actually tow a vehicle on top of it, which is really cool. But my favorite one has to be the M250 NASAMS anti-aircraft launcher, which in co-work with the NASAMS station, you can actually operate this anti-aircraft launcher to take down enemy airplanes. Pretty damn sweet, if you ask me. Then there is another series of trucks, which I'm assuming is a series of trucks that's older than the M250 series, because this looks pretty damn modern. The Pegaso 7226 version of trucks with ammo, fuel, transport, workshop, and ammo, and covered transport. Just different variations for different needs. Then there is the RG31, which I really think deserves a little bit of a shout out. It's a Crow's 50 cal MRAP. Now you're like, well, what's so special? I just think that the amount of carrying space, amount of lockers this little vehicle has is really sweet. And comparing it to, I don't have it loaded right now, so I can't show you it, but I know RHS has an MRAP kind of like these, but the amount of just, I'm assuming you could even call it almost spaced armor, and at the same time having these lockers on the side, I just think it looks really, really cool, because the actual car is just the area in between here. These things are just added on for armor protection and carry space, and it just looks really, really cool. Last but not least, the Vamtac series of cars, which looks a lot like a sort of Humvee. I gotta again give it to the FFAA mod. Absolutely fantastic looking little vehicle. Lots of different variations, from a mortar to a 50 cal to an anti-tank guided missile. We got an anti-aircraft design on the back. We got even an armored version of it. It looks really, really, really cool. The only one I'm not really too sure about is the Vamtac UME. Maybe if you're from Spain, you can help me out with this one. I'm not really too sure what this does or what this is supposed to be. Maybe a command vehicle, maybe a transport, maybe an engineer vehicle. It's got these orange flashlights on top, and it's got quite a lot of space in the back. Room for 7 passengers and a driver. Pretty cool looking vehicle. Anyway, let's move up to another category. The Spanish Army mod comes with 3 sets of armored tracked vehicles. This one is the Leopard 2E. I'm not going to go over this because a lot of other mods do have Leopard 2s in them as well. And honestly, this one is just, it looks good, but there's nothing special about it for me to actually say, wow, let's look at this in detail. However, the Pizarro VCIC is an amazing little APC that is original content, and it just looks fucking fantastic. It's got room for 7 passengers and 3 crew. It's armed with a 30mm automatic Rheinmetall gun that can switch on the fly between heat and AP. It's got a coaxial machine gun, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. APC with the capacity to carry some infantry. And then the M113 series of vehicles, definitely cool looking. I gotta say, better looking M113s than a lot of other mods have. Multiple variations of well, including a cool Sapper one and an ATGM version. But basically my favorite one, and I'm not really here to spend time on these ones because they're kind of like, they look okay, but there's nothing really special about these M113s. But this M577 HQ version is really funny. It's got room for 5 passengers, a gunner, which basically means you can give this guy a machine gun or whatever, and he can provide support from the hatch. But the cool thing here is the deploy cover ability, which makes a little sort of a camouflage netted HQ with a tent behind it. And it's something that I thought was really sweet little addition. Moving on to helicopters, where I think the FFAA mod really, really shines. So the FFAA mod comes with a load of helicopters, but my 2 favorite ones would have to be the Cougar and the NH-90. This is the Cougar, which comes in 2 variants, the armed and a transport version. And the cool thing about this is they actually have the ability to hide the details on the back of the tail, which a lot of the helicopters have the ability to, which is really cool for people like me who make ArmA Zeus missions for large groups of people. And basically, you could say, hey guys, there's a Cougar going to transport you out of the AO or into the AO or provide fire support. But it kind of breaks immersion when a Cougar flies over and your men are playing as the British or the Germans or the French or whatever, name a nation, and a helicopter flies over with Spanish markings on it. Totally ruins it for me personally. But allowing me to hide the Spanish decals or even making it a totally different color, very neutral black color in total, makes this an awesome mod and really sweet that they allow you to take off the Spanish markings, making it basically a helicopter for any sort of nation that you could play. And there's also a transport version as well. They have their own C-47 or CH-47. I mean, it's a cool Chinook, but there's nothing really particular special about this. The Tiger deserves a worthy mention. It's a pretty cool looking helicopter. It's just a gunship version. You can again hide the details, but there's no other camouflages for it, so it's kind of weird. It's, I guess, kind of like a tropical, deserty camouflage. It's a really cool helicopter, but there's other mods that have Tigers as well, and this one just looks like the other ones. Another one that I really wanted to show, however, was the NH-90. An absolutely amazing looking helicopter. in 4 different versions. This one is an NFH because it has 2 sets of rockets on the side and has room for 18 passengers. Again, you can hide the additional details. Then on the NH-90TTH, you have 2 heavy machine guns on the side, the ability to hide the additional details, and it also comes in a different color. However, this one is really Spanish. I'm assuming this is a Coast Guard helicopter because it says search and rescue here. I'm not really sure what this means. This might be fire. It's like a fire helicopter, if that's the case or not. Sorry, my Spanish isn't amazing. There's also a cargo and another transport version without the guns or rockets, because this is the difference between these 2 transport versions. Moving on to the planes. The Spanish mod comes with a couple of UAV drones and 2 planes, the C-130 Hercules in 2 different variations, cargo and transport, and the AV-8B Harrier. Now, the C-130, a really cool thing, what I think, and it actually made me kind of smile and giggle like a little kid, was the camo variant of it, which just looks like a giant beached whale. I honestly think it's really, really funny, and it's probably one of my favorite camouflages for a plane in an ArmA mod ever. Considering that I'm assuming the Spanish Army actually uses this camouflage, I don't know, it's funny, and I think the cool thing about it is this, right? So if this plane is flying really low, and you're looking at it from above, its camouflage is, to be mixed in with the terrain. So if you're flying above it like this, obviously we're really closer right now, but let's say this is flying above some trees or a patch of green somewhere in Spain or whatever, and you're looking at this, it's like, oh, it could be harder to see. And then it must have been like, well, we could do the same thing, but at the bottom, if a person's looking at the plane from below, we want them to look and see, like, if it's the sky, if it makes sense to me. I'm assuming that's the reason why it's camouflaged like this. Look at it from below, you're going to see the sky. Look at it from above, you're going to see the terrain. I mean, I'm assuming that's the idea behind it. Pretty cool looking plane. Actually a high quality model, which I can really appreciate. And again, it comes in 2 versions, transport and cargo. The AV-8B Harrier is a really sweet looking plane. The only downside is one of my friends who is a pilot for the 3rd RB said that this Harrier is kind of hard to fly. Then again, I don't have any experience with flying. All I know is it looks pretty sweet. The downside is you cannot take away the symbols, so you're kind of stuck with a Spanish Harrier. Moving on to the boats. It really focuses on this naval warfare aspect of the fact the Spanish Army is very busy patrolling the shores of Europe and North Africa, and they have a really, really special little surprise in here, which we'll get to right after we're done with this. So they have a couple of boats here, nothing really insanely special to write home about. They have the Super Cat, they have a landing craft, they have a Zodiac Hurricane and long on a short version, or a short and a long version, but right now we're going to go to the offshore patrol boat. Alright, so this is the last object I wanted to show you, and probably, in my opinion, the most impressive and awesome part of the FFAA mod. We are on Tanoa. I spawned down the BAM ship in the editor, and we're going to take quite a detailed look at it. The ship comes with quite a few of the single 50 cal mounts, which are obviously made to protect the boat against very close coming ships. Think of those little pirate boats that you could see near Somalia. Obviously, there's quite a few of these around the ship, and I think there's a couple up top there as well. There's one there, there's a couple on the front, and they're basically just for very close protection of light ships. I can only assume that if a pirate boat were to get close to this, the 30mm guns on the side would probably do more talking than those 50 cals, but hey, you never know. It's got room for a giant helicopter to land here. Not really sure if you'd want to land a CH-47 here, but a Cougar fits perfectly, and the NH-90 fits here as well. Before we go upstairs though, let me go downstairs and show you one of the cooler things of the boat. It's got a full interior, and the interior actually has a couple of moving parts besides the doors, but that makes sense. So first of all, we're in the belly of the ship right now, and you can see there's a little bit of a sort of a dry dock or a wet area in the ship. And the cool thing here is that you can actually open an underwater gate. Now, I personally have a fear of the deep ocean, As you could see in the start, we are in the harbor somewhere in the North Tanoan town. So I'm not really we're right here. I'm not really too frightened, but we've done an op or two where we went with diving suits and an SDV, which is the submarine. And we started from this inside little dock, and it was kind of terrifying. I'm not going to lie to you. I do not know if this winch works. I have never tested that. Probably something I want to test at some point in an op, but anyway, you can open and close the bottom deck, which is really cool. So you could either begin from the boat and go, you know, in a submarine or in a diving suit and dive on towards the coast or towards a wreck or whatever, or your mission could end with you reaching the BAM and basically finishing here in the inside deck. Now, we can either go back upstairs, but what we're going to do, we're going to go through the inside of the boat. Like I said, fully working interior, which this is probably the most impressive thing in the entire FFAA mod. We have lots of doors. The giant door, which you saw from the helicopter, and yes, it opens, which is just amazing. And look, there we are. We're back at the start, at the beginning where the helicopters. You can also close this again. Although I kind of want to open it, but I guess I have to wait for the entire animation to finish. But you get the point. There's even a little, I guess, tower where someone could sit to control the helicopters coming in. And the only downside is that for some reason, the staircase to that specific area is cordoned off. I'm not really too sure why. But yeah, you can't get up there, even with the mods like enhanced movement, etc., etc. It just seems like an unmodeled thing. Maybe at some point in the future. Anyway, the main part of the ship has two doors over here. We'll get to these boats in a second, but yes, you can actually get these boats dropped into the water. I wouldn't do it on this side, but you can get these boats dropped into the water, which is absolutely fantastic. On the base level, where you enter where the helicopter level is, there's multiple little rooms on the side, just for fluff and for fun. Also, hello there, boys. Anyone's hungry? That looks fucking fantastic. Not really. Just a little kitchen and a mess dining hall. In my opinion, really, really badass that this is just an entire thing. Also, I love how this is like a fridge, but it's a 2D picture of a fridge. We got the Spanish CNN, and like I said, we have even a snack machine over here, although I'm not really too sure if that Coke is going to do you any good because it's literally a picture. Anyway, moving on. We have more parts interior to ship. We have a little changing room, a locker room. Hello, sir. We all know what happens in here on the ships, right? In the Navy. That's where I want to be. Here is the main gun of the ship, the Otto Breda 76mm gun. Now, I could get on the gun right here, but instead of doing that, I'm going to not do that right now. I'm going to show you that it actually works, but we're going to go up there, and I'll show you my favorite part of the ship, which is the bridge. I just realized I have a lot of favorite points on this ship, but it is really, really cool. Up here, we have more doors, which I'm going to show you first. We have one giant sort of sleeping compartment and washing room with an amazing mirror that's basically a picture, which I think is actually kind of funny. We have showers, toilets. These toilets are actually kind of well kept, although, is there any way for the poo to go? I mean, it kind of just looks like a fake hole. Anyway, with that being said, there's another one on the other side. Kind of hard to reach because this little staircase is in the way, but we seem to be able to just go up through here. And there's the exact same thing on the other side. Crew compartment, people to sleep, people to go take a shit, shower, etc., etc. So this floor right below the bridge gives you access to all the crew compartments. Going up right now, we're going to the bridge. The bridge is accessible throughout the ship's interior or through the two side little doors back here that lead to the back, and the seats give you access to the different guns. The main gun, the Otto Breda 76mm gun, is absolutely fantastic. So it again has multiple vision modes of thermal and a regular daylight view. It has access to APFSDS and heat multi-purpose rounds. Let's see how we can do this. So this should be ranged to 1,000 meters. There we go. Let's switch to heat multi-purpose so you can actually see the impacts. Switch to 1,000 meter ranging and let's start firing. as you can see, really not something that you want to mess with. Honestly, it's kind of ridiculous how powerful and how fast this thing fires. And then, of course, like I said, it comes with 2 different rounds. Kind of absolutely just, you do not want this thing to fire at you. It's actually a pretty damn good cannon. The downside is that the ship cannot move, but it does have this cool horn. There's these 2 automatic, but also controllable 30mm cannons, which also you want to not stand near these things when they're operational, I'm assuming. That's where this giant red line is for. And these are both manual and AI controllable, and these things are ridiculous. Let's see if we can get into one. It just said the option right here. Alright, so right now, we are in the turret. It's kind of glitchy in third person, but watch this. We got different modes from black and white hot vision to night vision to regular view, and this thing will lay waste to anything that dares to come close to your boat, whether it's ship or air. Do not want to be inside of that when this thing starts firing at you. Top area over here has you basically right where 2 more 50 cals are placed, so you can provide, again, more support, more close range support for the ship. With that being said, I think it's time to show the last cool thing that the ship has to offer, and I think that this list is kind of endless. I mean, we just reached the end, but for such a big ship, there's so much things to do here. So we're going to get into one of the zodiacs on the side, and we're going to lower our boat. And yes, what you can do is you can put this entire boat full of people, which I think it seats 7 or 8 people. And a lot of these are actually fire from vehicle as well. So you can actually shoot from the seats in the boat. And now you're in the water. Now you're like, well, that's kind of cool. How do you get back? Because you cannot get back on the side. Good point. I'll show you an amazing feature, again, of why I think this boat is so cool. Here we go, recovering boat. And now a winch will actually come and pick us up and drop us on the boat. Now the cool thing is, if you don't want to do this, you can just climb up the ladder, but why not do it like this? Because isn't this, like, in my opinion, this is one of the cooler things, is you can get dropped off on your boat, and if you want to come back, you just go up to the winch and click recover boat. And now we're here. Now, if you want to go back into the water, that's fine. You can either exit to BAM, or you can get back into the driver's seat and lower the boat with the winch, and boom, we're back in the water, which is so amazingly cool to me personally. There we are. I don't know. I think that's really, really sweet. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this mod review. I'm aware this one is a little bit longer than I hope to make them in the future. It's just that this ship deserves such an amazingly in-depth look. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Cheers. And of course, the final rating for the vehicles in the FFAA mod, I have to give this a 9 out of 10. I think the original content, especially in the form of wheeled, air, and sea vehicles, is fantastic. This ship is one of its kind in ArmA, at least in ArmA 3. I know there's some frigates. I know a Cup specifically actually has a couple of boats, but there's no boat that I can think of or know of that has so many cool things on board, inboard, below deck, above deck, and is armed with such cool weaponry. So again, 9 out of 10 on the vehicles, a 7 out of 10 for the uniforms and the other gear. So in total, I would give this mod an 8, combining and obviously dividing by 2 the 2 numbers I've given the mod. So an 8 for the FFAA mod. Want me to check out a specific mod? Mention it in the comment section, and we'll see you in the next episode of Mod Review. Cheers!